Alcatel Idol 4S. We have already seen the Mobile World Congress shortly. Remember, that's a phone that's coming. The box is a VR glass. So here now the final product is there. For all of you that don't remember, please see my video from the Mobile World Congress over here. Here we're now going more into details. After the result of the battery runtime tests for you of the benchmarks, we have a closer look to the user interface. So coming to the details in this video. But before that, in case you don't remember the Idol 4S, there are some things you should know. First of all, above here and down there are built in each one microphone and one speaker. So whenever your phone rings, you put it out of your pocket, you can answer the phone call in both ways. So whenever it's going here, the software knows, okay, here is the speaker, here's the microphone, or the other way around. Great idea. I know that. I hope all of you already know this problem in case you're looking, this way. So great idea, not just a marketing gag. That's okay. Thumbs up. What's new also here is you have these speakers here, stereo speakers, not on the front only, but now on the back side. So not 4 speakers, just here holes, so the speakers going to the front and to the back side, both cases. It seems to me as if both are the same loudspeaker level, but we will have a closer look to this in a separate video, in a sound check, so we can have these qualities checked. And just as a kind of preview for that video here, I wanted to show the player, because coming to this one here, let's go like that, for example, and you have this one, for example, if you want to, you can have mixings here, automatical mode or manual mode, just like the way you want it. And especially, and that's something you will hear in the sound check, I can show you here that you're knowing what I'm talking about. Somewhere here in the sound and notification is exactly, you have that max audio. So in this case, if you turn this on, you can have additional settings, not only for bass and treble, that would be like an equalizer, but also for stereo effect and revive, and you can have movies and generals, and especially you can change all this here and save this. So we will have a differentiation, because I want to show this all in the sound check, just a preview for that. And something more you should know that's special about this phone, this is not the on-off standby button, especially if you're coming from Sony, for example. You might think that because of the design. No, that's up here. This one is the boom button. You can, for example, like I've done here, have any app you want to below that, and you can program that here in the boom key section. So this is trigger application, whatever you want to hear, or maybe take a screenshot, use it as a camera key, or just that's the setting coming out of the box, having this effect here on the screen, because Alcatel is taking care of how it's looking like. For example, here with this blurring effect and this parallax effect here, or for example that you have glass on the front and on the back side. But unfortunately, like we know this from all flagship phones with glass on the back side, you see every fingerprint, but it's looking very classy. Just you have to swipe. That's something you should know. And the other thing, that's the first one I do not really like about that, is because the volume whip is a little bit too high in my opinion, especially because this is a big phone. We're talking about 75 by 154 by 7 millimeters. 150 gram is totally okay. That's especially, it's very stable. Look at this. You have a little bit movement, but it's no point where the glass is pressing down onto the panel that might damage pixels during time. So it's really very stable. But for here, if you grab it with the right, you have to grab very high, so the thumb is just reaching the middle corner. And if you're having it in the left, you should do like this one here with your index finger, then it's okay, but then the thumb is in the upper left only. So this phone is more for having both hands, because you do not reach especially these and the navigation here. And so it would be better to have changed that, or maybe the volume whip down here, here, because normally, I guess at least most of you will hold the phone like this one in one hand usage, so this would have been better, just a minor thing. On the other hand, I really love that screen, not only because it's big, it's 5.49 inch, 139 millimeters. It's especially the resolution I like, because it's 1440 by 2560 pixels. So you're coming to a density of 535 ppi, or 444 pixels per square millimeter. That's 57% above the average. So really sharp, and especially look at that black. That's really, that's really black and no gray or something, because it's AMOLED. Unofficially, it's Super AMOLED. You don't find any OLED screens today that's not Super AMOLED. That just means that the frame with the touch sensitivity and the pixels is one now, so you have a better quality because the display is thinner, than better viewing angle stability and everything. So this is a brand. Super AMOLED is a brand by Samsung, so it's just called AMOLED, meaning the same. You have diamond matrix, and especially not only great contrast, look at the viewing angle stability. It's almost like printed on, so it's really great, and that's something that can't deliver an LCD or IPS or whatever. So the quality is really, really big, and especially, I know some of you are still there out and saying, oh, OLED I don't like, it's so dark. Not this phone. I've measured in the middle of the screen up to 601 nits. That's 68% more than the OLED average, or even for an LCD, 28% above the average. And this is called Sun Booster. You might know this because here you have that light sensor, that brightness sensor, and if some or in very bright conditions, the screen is giving a light boost then and going up to 600 nits. So even in direct sunlight, you can read it very good without any problems, better than most of the regular LCD phones today. Because 600 nits, it's really top. So display is great, no thinking about that. Then you have, of course, 4G and dual HFCA and Wi-Fi AC and NFC and everything. You have 32 gigabyte internal memory, and especially you will have realized this is kind of native Android 6.01. Almost nothing has changed, just except some really, really good ideas, like having having this one here that you can edit the shortcuts. That's something the stock Android can't, but it's really, really good. So these just some slight changes, but most is really stock Android. So you're coming to a net internal memory of 20.5 gigabyte. That's big if you compare this to some other phones with another own UI, like, I don't know, Samsung, Sony, whatever, they have from 32 down to 17, 18 gigabytes. So 20.5 is really top. And that's important because you have on the side here, if I'm showing you this slot, you have, of course, a nano SIM. That's this one here. And the second is a combination slot. You can insert a micro SD card up to 512 gigabyte already, or like this one here, upside down there, a second nano SIM. So you can have dual SIM if you want to, and in that case you are down to the internal memory, and that's 20.5 gigabytes. So this is important in case you want to have dual SIM. I guess for most of you it will be totally enough. Then coming to the cameras, we have a 16 megapixels camera on the back side, 4K videos, dual tone flash here, and on the front selfies with 8 megapixel, and especially you have a front flash LED white here. So I know there are some phones out there that have a white screen for selfies, that's better than nothing, but don't compare this with a front LED. So in case you're doing a lot of selfies in low light conditions, this is one of the few phones with a front flash. Very, very interesting. Of course, I will have a closer look onto the quality of the camera in the final test. That's coming as text only on my website, mobiwatch.net. You can click on the icon right away, but give me 1 or 2 weeks for the final review here of that phone, because I have some others in the pipeline I have to do first. This will come as soon as possible. Yeah, and of course, the processor is of interest. First I read, oh, it's Snapdragon 652. 652 means that's mid-class, mid-tier. So no 820, no 810. But be aware, I did the testing already, and it's 8 cores, up to 1.8 gigahertz, Adreno 510, and 3 GB of RAM. And with that, in the overall ratings of all benchmarks I did, that's more than 50 single values from 15 benchmarks. And in the overall ranking, this Idol 4S did it 32% above the average. So if you compare that to the predecessor with the Adreno 615 at the moment, 31% below the average. So this is way stronger, and even as strong as, let's say, some Snapdragon 810 or something. So for all of you that have regular tasks and, let's say, 5 or 6 app in multitasking or graphically advanced games, no problem at all. So I guess for 99% of you, a processor that's bringing 32% above the average is more than enough. So overall, it's a good processor. It's a great display. You have good camera quality, at least knock on wood, I hope so, from the papers. And the last thing is the battery, because it's fixed in, of course. You have that thin body here. So 3000 milliamps for 5.5 inch is not that big. In the runtime test, the Idol 4S did 477 minutes. Okay, that's 2% below the average, but that sounds worse than it really is, because with 2% below the average, your normal user will come through a day, maybe even to the second day. It's just for intensive users. If you are a moderate intensive user, then you might reach the evening or the night. But if you're really doing heavy stuff like always on display and GPS and Wi-Fi, of course you won't reach the evening. So for regular users, no problem at all. All the others have to think a little bit, but for most of you, I guess it will be okay too. And for that, I find a price we have here in Germany, Europe, recommended retail price of 469 euro, including tax. So street prices at the moment here, right from the start, it's 450. And that compared to flagships that have 600, 700 euros. So it seems to be really, really cheap. And in my opinion, it's indeed a flagship, because I told you, you have a strong processor, you have great cameras, I hope so. You have that wonderful screen, big and high quality and everything you want to. So why not call it a flagship, even if it's an Alcatel Idol 4S. So let's wait for the final test. Like I said, as text always on my website. Give me 1 or 2 weeks for that. But for the first view at the moment, I would say good one. And especially you have that VR glass included. Don't forget that. So next one will be the Soundcheck here of the speakers. Yeah, so that's enough, I hope, for the moment from the Alcatel Idol 4S. Thanks for watching, take care, and bye.